Good morning. Today is, I forget the exact date, but it's Saturday. It's about the third week in March. We are on the backside of the mountain in the local vigilance area, and we are heading down towards a large pond to look for. It's basically an area this time of year where the deer population's been getting weaker, and usually the coyotes score a kill down there. So I'm going to go look for some shed down around a spot where a couple of years in a row the coyotes have made a deer kill. I'm going to check that out this morning. I'm on my way down. The thing to preface the journey down the hill is that we're in the middle of March, so we have this weird mix of like frozen, icy permafrost and stuff that's melting. So patches of ground. I mean, around me you don't see a lot of snow, but you see ice on the water still. And it's a mixed bag, so I should have probably brought ice spikes today, but it's because it's warmer down where I live. It's something that slipped my mind, so I'll just have to mitigate that as I go. So far so good. And we're going to head down that way. I just wanted to stop and give the daily game plan, and we'll keep going from there. Thanks. So we are basically on the backside of the hill on a logging road heading towards the area where the deer bones are. I'm actually standing over basically Bambi tracks in mud, which I'll show you right there. And again, not to kind of overly whine about the nature of March weather, but you have like a patch of snow and then you make cover ground on like bald dirt again, which is refreshing. But you know, the nature of the weather, this is like probably the least. I mean, the mud is good for tracking, don't get me wrong, but just like as far as getting around and the scenery and all, patchy snow and all, that's kind of like for me at least, the least optimal time of the year. But in the next coming weeks, like next week and the week after, weather permitting, without anything crazy happening, I am going to probably change venues a little bit. Next week I'm probably going to head into New York and do some scouting there to see if there's a possibility for opening up a new research project for Nezin. The success or failure of that will be determined when we get there, of course. And the week after that, it is probably going to be a little early, and I will be watching weather patterns, but because Vermont has opened up their travel advisory to people that are vaccinated, as I do fill that demographic now, I can go up there without quarantining or having to pay $139 for a negative COVID test, which I think was the requirements up until a couple of weeks ago. And I can go up there, so I'm going to go up and assess conditions for spending more time up there as it gets warmer. And those are the immediate plans. I'm just basically spelling those out as I make my way down, and we have some more tracks here. These are not, well, I just saw the guy's print, so it's basically some guy walking his dog. Never mind. You get people back here that walk their dog. And it may well be somebody, I didn't see anybody here today, but we're a couple of weeks away from the April version of deer season, so there might be, hunting season, so there might be people out here with their dog looking for sign and doing what they call scouting ahead. They normally do that a couple of weeks ahead, if I remember right. So that's what we're going to do. I'm making my way there still, and rather than just stay on camera and yap about things, I'm going to take a segment break, and we'll come back when we get closer. Thanks. Heading towards the chimney. I got to remember exactly where it is in here. Hopefully we'll have some luck finding some deer shed. If we don't, it's still kind of a neat area, but what is encouraging is we're going down. This is like kind of a side trail off a side trail, and given the fact there's like zero tracks other than mine here, that's encouraging that no one's been around for a while, so there's a chance for activity. Probably as optimal as you're going to have, although this area's been pretty quiet this year, which is kind of a bummer, but hopefully if we mix it up in the next few weeks, that'll change. The area that I'm going to next week is fairly new to me, so I don't have any expectations one or the other. They do kind of have a regional reputation for having activity. We'll try to assess that ourselves. We'll do some tracking and other stuff. and take that from there. I'm crunching more in the snow now because it's softer here because apparently the sun hits it more. But I apologize for the noise to her, like adjacent to a stream that's leading towards the waterway that we're coming up on in a bit. But the chimney structure is more the, what is this? You have deer tracks and you have distorted, whatever that is. Let's double check what that might be, a moose. I actually have, for the first time in a few weeks, seen moose tracks, and that's looking like moose tracks. So apparently Bullwinkle has been down on this side of the area, not where I've been the last few weeks. But bear with me, I'm looking for that structure. I gotta remember where it is. Bear with me. Also in the next few weeks, something to keep in mind. There it is, right? Duh, it's right there. All right, so let's go have a look. In the next few weeks, something to bear in mind is that as it's getting warmer, ticks become more prevalent, so permethrin. Next week, I think, will be a good time to coat up my stuff and take things from there. But let's see if the coyotes have been eating good in the last few weeks. Every now and then you can find a deer bone or something back behind this thing. And for those that that's the one I'm talking about. The woodlands of Connecticut and Mass are known for old structures and things like this. And then in this particular area, there's a bunch of old house foundations and things where you had people living here. Time's gone by, I don't have a better way to put it, and they nature reclaimed them, and you get things like this out here. Almost looks like something you'd have from a church. The thing that I'm not going to do, and this is more of a respect thing, is walk on the foundation itself. And although I'm not a person who majorly believes in ghosts and the like, I have had an experience or two that might lend itself to that category where walking on that has stirred up the residents. So unless there's like deer shed or something actually out there, I'm not gonna disturb the house foundation just because I think that's a matter of respect to whoever lived here back in the day. I'll peek over the corner, but the sad thing is I'm not seeing any deer shed. Maybe the coyotes didn't have as much luck this year. I'll look on the other side too, but I'm not really seeing anything. I guess there's a story time in there somewhere, but let's kind of give the place its room and space if there's no deer shed or anything. Just to make the point that I didn't come here for any reason to disturb anyone who may be resting here. I don't know the situation, but I have a weird belief in that. I don't really believe in it per se, but I do kind of have like an ethic where you don't screw with the dead. And it doesn't matter whose dead it is, be it an Indian burial ground or someplace in Hawaii where people have ancestral graves and the like, or what have you. But you just don't disrespect that stuff because it has a way of coming back and biting you in the ass, whether you believe in it or not. And unlike Bigfoot, stuff like that has a tendency to want to follow you home. So that's kind of why I give that I give that more respect. I mean, I don't really believe in it per se, but I allow for leaving it alone. And as much as I don't like going through this deeper snow pile, I am going to kind of maneuver to give you a better look at the front of this thing. So, right there, this, right there, is what I was looking at, but I'm not going to disturb the front of it for reasons you may or may not find silly, but regardless. Apparently no deer. I mean, there are deer tracks going right to it, but I don't see any sign of shed or anything, so it could be the coyotes are out of luck this time of year. We're going to continue on, and in fact, in a minute, I'm going to take a segment break. We'll come back in a few. But before we do, there you go, dead on front view of it. Almost looks like an old church or something, but... So anyone in the comments, if you are a antiquities buff, for lack of a better word, if you recognize the nature of the style of the architecture of that. Whoops. Nope. Let me know your thoughts on that, because I would be curious the time frame of the building of that and such. That's a lot of why I don't really get interested in ghosts, because for the people that do actually go looking for ghosts, the thing that I'd get more out of it if I went to a location to look for ghosts, if I actually knew the historical context of the place, you know, kind of like the history of the place, so you can place the context of it, rather than just blindly going into somebody's basement to look for ghosts and if somebody says it's haunted or something. But it's not really anything I've ever really held a lot of interest in. I just don't. Anyway, we're going to do a segment break, and we'll come back in a bit. All right, so we're a little ways down the side trail and come out. Ow, that was a deep spot. And we've come out here at what is basically a local reservoir. Well, local to the area. I live about an hour and change away from here, but kind of just a good place to kind of have a look around for things. Kind of getting sick of falling through the snow though. But kind of a nice, like scenic, kind of a break in the wood line, and this instead. I may come back in the spring and do like a droning, kind of look out over the water. Once there's more water. Right now it's kind of a low period because we're in March. You don't have the April and May rain yet. But I'll walk down to the water real quick, and then maybe. Interesting thing though, you have deer tracks up the hill, nothing really down here. Not really sure why, but you have a little asphalt down here, like the remnants of an old boat launch or something. So, in the coming weeks, I know I keep going back to like the future, not dealing in the now, but in the future, in the next few weeks, we'll see what New York turns into as far as, and be careful here, this is all ice. I'm not going to get stuck going downhill. Actually, I could probably angle down on this. Very carefully do this, and I don't ask on camera. That would suck. I'm going to see if there's any liveliness in that greater area, because there's the immediate area that has the reputation, and then you can kind of branch out. I know something of the area that surrounds there. Parts on the Connecticut border, parts on the New York border. That's an area I'm going to look deeper into. Not going to go all the way down there because I don't feel like sliding into that cold water. This is all basically ice. And then we start getting back into Vermont and maybe trying to get some eyes and ears back into New Hampshire. It's been quiet there, as far as I know. But their travel policy for vis-a-vis COVID is not quite as draconian as Vermont's was. No offense to the Green Mountains, but you guys have been one of the more hard-assed travel advisories, but by the same token, Vermont's had one of the better COVID track records in the Northeast too. So there is some righteousness in their way of thinking, but we'll be getting back up there as well. This is kind of, I don't know, kind of like an intermediate video in between things. I'm kind of more sharing my thoughts, I guess, because it's been quiet here so much. That's why I feel the need to break it up a little bit. And if those areas are quiet and we get into April and April proves to be quiet, I might branch up. There are a couple of spots in the western side of Mass that could use some attention. So we might do that as well. And a couple of Connecticut spots I haven't been in a while too. The BFRO places some activity in some of the places, although I'm dubious just given the amount. One area in particular, on more of the eastern side of the state, there was a claim once of a BFRO report there. The problem I have with it is the woods on that side of the state are so humanly trafficked, not as in prostitution or anything odd like that, more just you walk in on one side and you have the hunters, you walk in from another side and you have the dirt bikers and the ATVers, then you walk in on another side, you have the kayakers getting into the river to do their thing. It's almost like you break the place down by, there's a campground there too, so you basically break the entire area up by the activity that people are doing. And but it is an interesting area to hike from more of a New Englandy, Connecticut folklore kind of thing. I found the remnants of a forest fire. So I was exploring, this is before I was making videos more, but exploring the remains of a forest fire is kind of an interesting thing. So there are some interesting spots in there. You have like a road that was never finished, kind of like a weird New Englandy road to nowhere. So there's that too. I'm going to start heading back up, so I'm going to kind of do another segment break here and take another look at that chimney thing from the front. Again, not disturbing the actual ground it's on, and after that I'm going to probably go, when I get back, and get some kebabs or similar. So we're going to take a segment break and we'll be back in a bit. So we're about halfway up the hill on the way out, and we're going to call it here and start to head out. You hear me huffing and puffing. I said I didn't want to huff and puff, but yeah, it is what it is. It's kind of if you look down where am I? I don't know if that captures it or not, but it's a winding hill that goes about a half a mile, and it's all uphill. So I'm about halfway up, and I'm going to call the video here. We will see you next time.